SEMO head coach Tom Matukewicz. The Red Hawks came up short at Lindenwood this past weekend. Back in action. They're going to be at home. They're going to host Western Illinois, final home regular season game of the season. So, Coach, some thoughts on the team, and we'll go to some questions.
Yeah, just a disappointing loss. I just think Coach Stugart and his staff and players did a great job. You know, it wasn't a fluke. At the end of the day, their defensive plan and their execution was spot on, and did a really nice job against our offense, really all game long, and wasn't able to move the ball or score enough points in modern day Division I football to win many of those things. So now it's a different kind of thing we got to deal with. We haven't had a FCS loss. This is our first, and so we just got to respond. Certainly, we got to move on. Got to turn the page. You know, all the goals that we have as a program and this team made in July, we still have in front of us. So we just got to understand what happened, why it happened, and figure out what we could do about it, and then get ready for a Western Illinois football team.
Is that easy for players to do to put that quickly behind them after you'd won a bunch of games in a row?
Yeah, I think so. I think young people are more resilient than old people. I think I have a more, the staff probably sometimes has a harder time hanging on to stuff than young people. But I think more of the issue you have is, let's say you have a young, new, really good player and he makes a mistake, and that's a costly mistake, and he's never had that in his life. That's tough to get over if you're a competitor and you could start this train of, man, I let my team down. You get into this doom loop of over and over, and that's what you worry about. Not necessarily the loss, but an individual player that hasn't had the bad plays happen to them yet, that all of a sudden happen. How are they going to respond? But it's a good thing at the end of the day, because if you play football long enough, bad things are going to happen to you. You got to learn how to move through and past it. And so I think, and I believe this team will actually be better because of moving forward, because of this lesson we learned.
Got a couple running backs back, I believe. One game, but talk about how that's obviously going to help you down the stretch, having some more depth there.
Yeah. Hopefully we could get those guys back to full health. I thought Daryl Smith was a nice lift for our offense, and so he'll be back. Hopefully Peyton Brown. There's a chance that we see Brandon Epton, and so we want to try to get back to where we were games, kind of 1, 2, 3 before we start having those injuries. We've been banged up at tight ends, so our starting 2 tight ends are also out. And in the run game, that has a huge impact. But Andrew Sivvy, who's the guy that's been coming in, has gotten a lot better at tight end, and so hopefully he can continue to build skill. Ultimately, we got to be balanced, and that's the task at hand.
Thoughts on Western Illinois, and their quarterback has had some big games this year, and put up some really big numbers.
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Coach for the quarterback coach of the century. Last year he's at EIU, and Holly, tore it up, and now he's at WIU, and it's the same thing. Like he's a quarterback whisperer or whatever. So I think the quarterback is the difference maker, man. If you got a great one, you're never out of games, and that's what they've been able to do. Stay in a lot of football games, even though he's building his roster. And so got our work cut out for us defensively. We have played pretty consistently all year long. We've had a bad quarter or two, but we've never had a real bad game. And so we got to continue to stay on top of that, and get ready for this offense that's put up a lot of yards and points.
It's senior day for you, so you got there's that kind of emotion playing in, and it's being at home where you've had good crowds as well this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing is there's some of these seniors like Paxton and like Bryce Norman and all these guys that, man, we got to do everything we can to make sure they play their last regular season game at home. That's a winner, right? And so we've played well at home. I anticipate that we do the same, and get better.
One more question I thought about Western. I was just looking. I think you all played in 1944, so long before any of us were alive. What's it like now playing them again, having them in the league, and somebody who's not that far away from where Cape Girardeau is, but just new league foes, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it stabilized this thing. Um, at the end of the day, these conference alignments are tough, but geographically, it was a fit for us. We'll recruit against them on those type of things, but we always were anyway. And I was at SIU in the golden days when Western Illinois was rolling. In fact, they had beat SIU 20 straight years. I was on Jerry Kill's staff when we finally broke that 20-year record and beat them. So Western Illinois is actually a very historically proud and rich program when you go back through the years. It's just been in the 2010s through the 20s that they've struggled. So I'm sure coach is going to get it back on track and get all the alum pointed in the right direction and get the Leathernecks rolling.
Coach, appreciate your time as always. Best of luck on Saturday, and we'll talk to you next Tuesday.
Sounds good. Appreciate you, Kyle.